Ooh. Hello, boys. It is me, Glass Ankle Graham here. Look at that. Yeah, so this is me for the next, the rest of the week, actually. Busted my ankle open yesterday. She's not broken, though. She's decent. But speaking of decent, let's get into today's build. So, I want to revisit the Cold Wind Druid. So, it is a meta build, I know, but it's a variation which focuses our damage instead of towards tornadoes, towards the cold damage output of Hurricane. So what is the benefits of that? Well, tornadoes, as we know, kind of go around the mobs in certain places, so it's really annoying trying to focus in on certain mobs, and we can be more reliant on just leaning back, teleporting and positioning, using all of our mobs just hiding behind them, just teleport. We're sitting within the circle of a hurricane, and they're taking more damage. So it's easier, it's lazier, and it's kind of helpful in certain cases where there is different resistant mobs, right? I quite enjoy it. I like the variation of gear, and I have retested it with some few changes and alterations since my previous video, also Sunders as well. So I'll go through what I have done to more further optimize this, see what you guys think, and then we'll bump it up to P8 because this bad boy can handle fucking anything, mate. So let's go on. Everything is pretty much your standard Druid, right? Just going to zip over this really quick. Skills is as you would expect, so leftovers is going to be down here. I pumped into Spirit Wolf for my max leftovers because that's going to increase the cold damage, and we can actually bump that a little bit further with our gear, which I'll get to. Shapeshifting is nothing. Obviously Elemental is maxing our synergies, right? So this base character is 99. It's all going to be where you would expect it in the perfect scenario. Okay, boys? Oh, little one. Now, main piece I swapped out was this. So, you probably remember I had a Doom in here previously, right? And I did have that, just on Switch, but I'm not really using it. The Holy Freeze is really good for further crowd control, so we don't have to feel like we need to teleport and hit every enemy within our Hurricane radius, but even if they're slightly outside of that, they can still get chilled and slowed by the Holy Freeze Orb, which is actually really convenient, along with 2 skills and a massive minus 60 enemy cold res. But, in terms of damage output, this performs better. And not only does it increase our Hurricane damage further across the board, if we go across here it's 38, it also increases our Spirit Wolves, which are here, up to 421 cold damage per hit. Good to know. Now for this, you don't actually need to go for perfect 5/5 facets, right? You can get some cheap ones, shitty across ladder. It's going to be cheaper to go for that than to go for a Doom, in my opinion. Bear in mind that the Doom does actually roll, I believe, with the minus cold resist to minus 45 to minus 60. Someone can check down in comments, but yeah, this is why I chose that. Increasing our cold damage more so than other plus skills and other things, right? So straight bang as much cold damage as we can. So obviously, the next important piece to switch out is going to be the Night Wings, which I went with this. So more plus skills are generally going to be better in most cases, and if we can get any extra facets or cold percent damage on top of that, it's a little cherry on top, boys. So we're going for a magic or a rare helm with minimum +4 skills. If we can get +5 or +6 in this perfect scenario, this helm that I would never see in real life, +3 elemental skills, +3 to Hurricane, that's going to give us +6, and then a 50% chance for Larzik to socket this to give us 2 sockets, and then we chuck 2 facets in. That's going to be the highest damage output helm you can get generally, right? I think I had one variation of the helm over here, which is a rare one. Now this would be a little bit more obtainable, right? So here's a rare option for you boys and girls. So +2 to elemental skills, +3 to Hurricane, so a strong 5, something helpful like some resists across the board, and then if it rolls with 1 socket, we can always just socket it and get 1 socket guaranteed. So this is probably a more obtainable option that I would aim for this, maybe next ladder if I wanted to, right? So +5, and then we still get a little bit extra cold skill on top of that. So this is generally going to be significantly better than Night Wings, which we can see over here. So this is limited to +2, but it has more cold skill damage. But for this, we have +5 with a little bit more, but if we have the mega magic option, there's literally nothing better in this specific build than this option. But we'll never see it. Moving on. For the rest of the gear, we have our FCR, which is a bit restricted to the certain pieces of gear here, which is our spirit. We need it on the amulet, we need it on the arachnids, we need it on the trangs, and we do need it on at least one ring, leaving a SOJ or a Bull Cathos open for that extra +1 skill. Sandstorm Trekkies, Enigma. On switches, obviously we've got our CTA and another spirit, and down here is what you'd expect, boys. We've got Annihilus, Hellfire, just your life resistance is what we'd need, Skillers, and then we have Sunders, which we didn't have in the last video. So we've got obviously your cold Sunder here, so that's going to be nuking the immunity across the board for cold. And I did chuck this in. We don't need it because getting rid of a physical immunity when we do majority cold damage is a little bit dumb, you'd probably think, but it does actually count for our minions and our mercenary as well. And it does help with our tornadoes, because our tornadoes still do a massive chunk of damage at 6k. So I found it helpful to keep on there. And if you get the lowest rolled one of this, boys, with increased damage by 10%, it always throws me off. Physical damage received increased by 10% is for the most part negated by Enigma if we have that, right? So physical damage received reduced by 8%. God, why did they change that? I liked it the other way around. But anyways, let me chuck this Doom on the floor because I don't need it. Mercenary is pretty much the same, boys. Your Eth, Andes, Fortitude, and Infinity, that's staying the same. But we also need Might on here, so that's going to increase our physical output across the board. Mercenary, Grizzly, all the boys and girls, and that is more reason why I like to have the Bone Break open. So let's just kick straight into this. We're going to go all the way up. I want to start with players 1 and see how we go. I swear it was daytime before when I did start this. So let's switch across. Let's go a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Teleport the boys over. Thank you. We'll chuck the Hurricane up. So on there, we got 46. Switching back, 39. We're good to go, boys. Nice and easy. Still doing well over 6k for our tornadoes. And each tick inside our Hurricane is over 4,000 damage. Well, if we can see here, it's 39, but that's not taking into account our minus res, which we can see down here is 40, which is superb. About 2 or 3 ticks and they're gone. Alright, so let's change this over. Should we go to players 4? Hey boys, we'll do players 4. What's a good place? Let's go to Halls of Pain. As I briefly mentioned at the start, this thing can handle a fair whack. I guess it is building off a Wind Druid, so it's got all the same strengths and weaknesses as a standard Wind Druid. Generally very, very strong and consistent. But having that larger AoE makes it a bit easier to play, and I feel like I can still do damage when I'm not targeting like all my tornadoes. Like you can see, it's so annoying to get the same line with the tornadoes sometimes. We've all been there, teleporting on top of Bale and shooting a tornado skirting right under his armpit, doing no damage. It's just how it is, right? It's part of the Wind Druid life sometimes. Let's see what else we can find down here. So this is players 4. Nice and easy, nice and chill. We're still lacking a little bit of resistances, but I didn't want to switch out my charms and all of that. Felt like it was doing fine enough, and I'm lazy, to be honest. See if we can find Needlethark without looking up the correct way to find him. Easy, thank you. Cool. Steady. Nice and easy, nice and easy. Now, let's chuck this straight up from players 4. So we went 1 to 4 to 8. Let me buy a couple of potties. Should be good to go. A couple of the wolves are going to come back. Do we have a couple of these boys? A couple of these? A couple of this one? Thank you. Now, I want to go to Arcane Sanctuary. So remember these ghosts, physical immune? Always a good place to showcase the Thunder Charms, I like to think. Oh, I always forget about CTA, because I swear to God, I only put on CTA when I do build videos, because I can't be bothered otherwise. I'm surprised you guys don't give me more shit for not using CTA that often. Not bad, let's scoot across. Here we go. That's a lot of boys, isn't it? Not too bad, not too bad. So this is Players 8. Players 8, brother. Very consistent. If I ever pick up Wind Druid again and building it on ladder, this is exactly what I would kind of go for. Although it is very expensive, I'll admit, and you're pretty much building a Wind Druid until you get specific pieces of gear. That being Infinity, most notably, alongside Enigma, and then just focusing towards your cold damage output on gear. So everything else is really the same. If you've got that extra wealth and you want to try something slightly different, then bloody go for it, mate. That's what I say, you know? The world's your oyster, or whatever the kids say these days. I'm a Zoomer, I should know. Hey, look at that. Well, I hope you boys have been doing well. Just wanted to pump out another one of these for you because I really like this variation. I think this is really cool. But you know, I don't really know many other meta builds that have a kind of quirky variation to them that is fun. If you guys have some ideas that you'd like me to cover, some more meta-ish builds that have, you know, a little off-meta, little spice to them, let me know, and then I can check that out. But anyways, I'm going to leave that here today, boys. Have a good one, have a blessed one. Do your dishes, wash your hands if you need to.